Hi, everybody. This is Tony Owens, Vice President for Bargaining, SEIU Local 1000. As of now, you know that we've reached an agreement with the state, a side letter agreement pertaining to the pay cuts, and the negotiations are over. We have an agreement in place, and so as promised, I was going to do a video to talk about the highlights of the agreement and what's contained in this agreement. So let's start with the PLP program. That's personal leave program. We've agreed to 2 PLP days for the next 2 fiscal years. So the first year, July 1st, we will begin being assessed 2 PLP days. These are leave days that can be used like vacation, and they're to the discretion of the employee. These 2 days would amount to a 9.23% pay cut. Employees who are not eligible for health care, those folks, they will not be actually subject to PLP. So I just want to make that point clear. As a result of the PLP days, nobody that's represented by Local 1000 is going to make less than $15 an hour. So that's another point that came out of these negotiations. The second piece, OPEB contribution. OPEB contribution, otherwise known as our medical retirement, will be suspended. So what that means is the 2.3% deduction that you see coming out of your check every month, that won't be coming out anymore. So that was another thing that was included here. The state, however, did agree that they would continue to make their payment because we were matching funds. So they basically said that they're going to continue to make that payment into that fund, but we're not going to see that 2.3% coming out. And as some of you guys know, with the new contract, that was going to be increased. That contribution was going to go from 2.3 to 3.5. So that's not going to happen. The $260 healthcare stipend. Health benefit eligible employees, everyone, all health benefit eligible employees are going to receive the $260 healthcare stipend. So that was an expansion by the state to include everyone, regardless of whether or not they participated in the Flex Select benefit program. Flex Select goes away. So for those of you that participate in that, you're just going to receive the flat $260 amount. And again, this is for everybody who is eligible for state-sponsored health plan. In terms of the actual GSI, first of all, let me talk about the SSAs, unaffected. That question's come up. That was not on the table. So every classification that was to receive a special salary adjustment, those SSAs, those are still intact and those are still going to happen. Now, going to the GSI. As part of this agreement, as part of our contract, we were supposed to receive 2.5% raise in July. That has been deferred, that has been delayed. So we're not going to see that until the third year of the deal, which would be July of 2022. So that's for the 2.5% raise. On the next raise that we were due, which was the 2%, that was supposed to happen in fiscal 2021. That has a trigger attached to it. The trigger on that deal is based on whether or not we can find some additional savings, reduction, some costs. And this is based on the state and the union coming together to work together as a team to collaborate as part of a cost savings task force. And so the goal of this task force would be to find savings that would allow for the funding of our contract, which has to be funded on a year-to-year basis. So the goal of this team would be to find savings, and I think our president had pegged that dollar amount at $200 million. If we can find the savings, then we're unaffected in terms of our 2% raise that we're due in fiscal 2021, which would be year 2 of the deal. If we were unable to do that, then that dollar amount for that 2% would be deferred also to year 3 of the deal. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what the agreement contains. Again, I want to be clear that the SSAs, they're still in effect. All of the other financial provisions of the contract, such as the GO pay, bilingual pay, those things, those are all still intact. For the record, I do want to let everyone know that I personally voted no on this deal. In terms of the bargaining team and the votes, everyone on the team essentially voted for this deal with the exception of myself and I think there was like 2 other people. We conducted the meeting and the vote by Zoom, so I can't be 100% certain, but I think it was 3 or 4. It was definitely 3 people that had voted no on this deal, and I was one of them. And I just want to explain the reason why. The reason why I voted no on this deal is because the legislature basically sort of reached out or put out their version of a budget, which did not call for a specific amount by which we would have to take a pay cut. They had, anyone, if you want to go out, you can look at the version that was produced by the Senate and the Assembly. And what they called for was for us to go through the process of collective bargaining to determine what the cost savings would be to the state to kind of help mitigate this $54 billion budget deficit. And so I felt personally, and I, made this point to the team that, we would want to exhaust all other options before we actually reached into people's wallets during the worst time imaginable with this pandemic and everything else that's going on there. And so for me, I couldn't vote for this deal based on the fact that we did not look at employee contracts. The state, basically, we had language in there that was passed to say, there are contracts that are wasteful. There are contracts out there that, we're still engaging in contracts even as we speak while they're asking us to take a pay cut. So I didn't feel right about that. That's number one. Number two, we also saw that, other unions had completed their negotiations as well. For instance, CCPOA, they had completed their negotiations. We saw from that the state was willing, at least in their case, to be able to say, what is the value of the package that you're presenting? In their case, that package had been valued at 8.99% compensation in terms of savings to the state for employee compensation in their dealings, 8.99%. So when you think of it that way, you're saying roughly 9%. So you're still short of what the governor, was aiming for as a target, but that was acceptable to the state. And so when you look at it on the other side, we're saying that 2 PLP days for local 1,000 represented employees, that we're saying that's 9.23% in terms of a savings to the state. So in my view, I think that, there was an opportunity there for us to be able to say, we have a precedent that's been established. And again, I did try to make the case to the team, but again, the team as a team, we all voted, and the vote was basically in favor of this deal. So I'm not going to go into all of the elements. I only tried to hit the highlights here, but I would encourage you to check the link for the actual side letter agreement in the description below. You can kind of read through and you can see there are other things that are included. There's some other provisions, but I wanted to hit the high points for you guys. I want to say thank you for your support. I'm going to continue to do these videos. I told you guys that, obviously from the team standpoint, there's some difference there. I wanted to, make sure that you have an understanding of what's going on. Other folks feel differently about that, but, we represent you and your voice should be heard. And, we weren't able to bring the actual vote to the members to say what it is that you want. You trust us to fight for you. You trust us to actually go to the table for you and to battle for you. It wasn't a battle. It was mitigation. And that's the word that you're going to hear. That's the word that the president uses, mitigation. What she said is this is what they're going to do to us. This is what's going to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to lessen the pain. That's what we're going to do. And so that was the message to the team is we're going to actually be impacted by this, and we want to lessen it as much as possible. Well, I know that some of you guys want more than that. You want someone to fight for you. You want someone to say, you're not going to do this to us without a fight. So there's a difference between, the way it was handled, the way it went down, and what some of you guys would expect from your leadership. And so believe me, I'm 100% sympathetic to that. And I just want you guys to know that, again, at the end of the day, we work for you and we're accountable to you. Again, I appreciate your support. I'll have more information about what went down as far as how this whole thing came together. You kind of know what it is today. That was my message today, is I wanted this video for you to know how it went down. But, the next video, hopefully we're going to get into a little bit more about, how we actually got to this point. So until the next video, thank you.